Rebels, good evening and welcome to the latest conversation, or good morning, because maybe by the time you're watching this, it's the morning time. Maybe you've got better things to do tonight. But this is the latest session of the Think Like a Rebel conversations. And the conversation I'm going to have tonight is with the one, the only, Alexei Hamlin, the CEO of River. No, wait, let me get this right. You say it. What's your job title? And tell me your business, Alexei.
I don't really have a specific job title. It's kind of everything at the moment.
You're in charge of
it. It's easier to say CEO, creative director, because I focus much more on the creative side of things at the moment.
Brilliant.
Of River Gods, we're a startup, sort of high-end streetwear label, focusing a lot on sustainability, building community and sort of investing in sort of public interest. We want to make a movement, not just some designs on clothes. That's kind of what we're doing.
Amazing. We're going to get into all of that. So the session tonight is all about how do you make a clothing brand, and that's why I've got Alexei on, because he knows more about making clothing brands than me, because he's been doing it a few years. And as part of the Think Like a Rebel sessions, we're just trying to say to people, look, if there's something that you're interested in, it's never been more possible to use all these amazing free tools and have a go at something yourself. And occasionally you get so into it that you think, I think I'm going to turn that into something. And that seems to be the journey that you're on, Alexei. So the question, just to get us rolling. So your business started life when you were still at school.
Pretty much, yeah. So originally I used to buy and sell from charity shops, vintage wholesale places, to sort of make money to be able to get my designs made by manufacturers in China, because they'd be really cheap. And I was doing this when I was 15 to 16. And then I went through sort of a bit of a slog with it all. I was thinking I don't think I'm gonna be able to do it. I haven't got the money, I haven't got the time. I wasn't getting much belief from my friends. And I thought so I had a few months off, and then I came back to it and I was actually, you know what? I've got the drive to do this. Nothing can stop me. So I learned to design. I had a basic Photoshop knowledge from when I was a bit younger. I spent a lot of time watching YouTube tutorials, literally just YouTube tutorials or articles online about how to brush up on certain skills. Developed that. I went through Fiverr, a well-known freelance website, connected with loads of upcoming streetwear labels, and sort of said I'm willing to design for you, bit of cash in return, this sort of thing. Built that up. Just spent a lot over lockdown during COVID, when my levels were cancelled. Spent a lot of time working, building that, and then use the capital from that now to invest it into my own stuff, because that's what I wanted to do all along. Let's have my own staple.
Wow. Yeah. Look, there's so much in there to unpack. And I think, right next door to where I am now. So by the way, anybody, if you hear any shouting or screaming going on, it's either my team or it's the people that might do training at the moment, because they're making t-shirts next door. And I know they'll be interested in this thing about, so you're going to charity shops, and then you're buying stuff and then you're flipping it. How are you doing that? Were you doing that on Depop or eBay or Facebook?
Depop, yeah.
Okay. And what was it specifically that you were looking for? Because I bet once you've done that a few times, what's more likely to sell than not. Were you looking for trainers? Were you looking for jackets? What was the thing that you were hunting for when you were looking at vintage stuff?
It was actually really useful for me, because my parents at the time, they were having career change. So they were also doing the same as me. But they were on eBay targeting a more sort of sophisticated older audience, shirts, formal wear. But I would always look for the sort of punky or vintagey sportswear, designer wear sort of stuff, big logos, big embroidery, all this sort of stuff. So I'd always keep an eye out for the sort of sweatshirts, jumpers, hoodies, trainers or anything with a Nike tick on it, that sort of thing. So that's what I was doing. And I'd go with them as a little team. I'd find them the odd shirt, they'd find me the odd hoodie sort of thing. And then over time, I even got to the point where I was scouting on Depop for people that were selling stuff they didn't even really know the value of, buy off them before they had a chance to sell it to someone else, and then started doing that as well. So I had a pretty good idea of what people wanted. It took a long time. I bought a lot of stuff that no one had any interest in.
Now, the bit that's interesting for me is that something you said a minute ago made me think, so you already knew that you wanted your own brand. You were simply doing that to raise the money in order to get some stuff made. It was the manufacturing bit that you wanted, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
It's hard when you're that age to really afford to be able to do something like that. So you can't, it's hard to do that through traditional methods. So I was thinking a lot what can I do that's not only, again, I also love the fact it was all charity as well. It was sustainable, you know, money was going to charity, but I also wanted something that was a bit more, again, I had more control over. I could work around my schedule a bit more from an early age. And I was very, very lucky that I lived near a lot of charity shops, where I was from. So like, it just worked out really nicely. I was very lucky, but yeah, that was what that's what I was doing to sort of fund it.
Like you said that your parents were like changing jobs. So your parents aren't entrepreneurs, but they were hustling and, you know, ways to make extra money. And
my mum's in like mental health care. She took a year out because her job was getting too stressful, and she just did full-time flipping on eBay, like buying and selling old clothes. And she loved it. Like she had a great time doing it. So that was what she was.
I love the fact that you were spotting clothing together. Like I got one.
Yeah, it was a little team. Yeah. Okay. Worked really well actually. Yeah.
So once you started getting a little bit of money together and you were figuring out how to use Photoshop and getting better at that, that enabled you to then get your own designs on a screen and then ultimately on a piece of clothing. What was the steps in that? Like, did you get it mocked up first? Did you make some prototypes? Did you go straight for the big owner and put in a big order? Did you sell first and then get it later? What was that process like?
So actually, coincidentally, my dad wanted to have a popper doing his own clothing label about 6-7 years ago, but he didn't have the time because of his job. But he bought a heat press and a vinyl cutter. So he taught me how I could like make like silhouette designs, cut it out on the vinyl machine, put it in the heat press and print it down. So like my first ideas, I was making samples of, like I'd buy some cheap t-shirts off Amazon, like blank ones, and then put the logos and stuff on it. And that's what I did at first. And like, that's like, if you're going proper grassroots, that's the best way you can start, I think. Like doing it yourself, you have the personal connection to the product. Like you're seeing it being made, you can change it exactly how you need it to be. But then as I sort of realized I wanted to turn it into something a bit more than that before I launched, again, this is all still pre-launch, I thought like, I was going to look on like AliExpress, Alibaba, you know, the big Chinese manufacturing websites, and reach out to people that made hoodies and stuff for other people and just said to them, what do you need from me to make this design that I've put on Photoshop into a real product? And they told me about this thing's called tech packs, which stand for technique packs. And what it is, it's like a digital drawing of your product where you've got little arrows pointing to each bit of print and like what kind of print, whether it's a screen print, digital print, embroidery, and like the measurements for each graphic and this sort of thing. And like some manufacturers are very, very like, you can send them something very, very vague and they know exactly what to do with it. Others, they will ask you for every single little, you know, bit of like centimeters on your hem, this sort of thing. Like it's all about who you, and as like a 15-year-old, I had no idea. I've had no education in fashion, no education in design, so I had no idea what I was doing. But I learned it literally just through speaking to manufacturers and getting them to tell me exactly what they needed. So I only learned what was necessary for what I wanted to do, and I felt it made it a very quick process from going from idea to execution, really, I think.
Right. Who was your first customer and how did you get there? How did you acquire them?
So my first customer actually was like on my actual full release collection, which was in September, was actually a guy that I sat next to in business in sixth form. I had no idea he had any interest in streetwear. Released it 5 minutes later. Oh, I got an order coming through from my old mate, and I was like, oh, that's awesome. I haven't seen him for like a year because of COVID, and he's just my first sale. And I was like, that's awesome. Like, yeah. So,
I think that's one of the things that we should like. You know, we'll give you an opportunity in a minute to shamelessly.
Of course, yeah.
I want people to be able to see your channels and stuff. But I think when I saw your thing, I went, oh, that's genius. So actually, like, you can, you know, you buy an item of clothing from you and buy some different patches, and the thing's a different jumper, it's a different hoodie.
That's the exact idea, yeah.
Genius.
Yeah.
I think that's absolutely phenomenal. So first customer came from your friends. And I know because we spoke briefly about this before, and I know that one of my team has done a little interview with you before. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm interested in the reaction of your mates, because you're a cool guy. Like, how did
thank you.
You're a sporty kind of guy.
I was not a cool guy when I was a kid. I was like the sort of like, not geeky, but like I was the sort of like overweight, like awkward, but like the sort of class clown sort of. That was sort of what I used to do. Like I spent a lot of time in secondary school just winding up teachers to try and make people laugh, sort of thing. So people never really took me seriously. So when I first wanted to start going to fashion, everyone was like, what is this going on about? And then when I came up with the name River God, which I'm actually not allowed to publicly disclose because it's a secret that you only get told if you know me personally, so sorry everyone. When I came up with that name, my friends were like, who is going to want to wear a t-shirt that says River God on it? That is so weird. But I tell you, every person that's touched base with the brand that I've met in person or through Instagram and said, I love the name. Where did it come from? Which was like, you know what, I'm not going to tell anyone now. I think it's not, I like it being a mystery. But since then, like through sticking with it and not letting other people tell me that it was weird or cringy, it's ended up with this thing that people love. So just stick to your guns, I'd say. Stick to your gut instincts, because, you know, I just think that's the most important thing.
I love that. Alexei, you know, obviously, like you came up with the idea, you were flipping stuff, you were working on your designs, you had a 6-month break. Like within that time, GCSEs and A levels were happening. Like, how did you sort of figure that out? Like, did you find one that was more important than the other? Were you trying to ride both horses at the same time? You know, like, how does that work if you're trying to set up a side hustle or a business whilst you've got parents going, yeah, but your grades, Alexei?
Oh my God, that was the case. It was awful. Like I really took my foot off the gas when I realized I was making money. I was like, I don't need this. Like, I can do that. But that's not the mentality at all. But what I would say to like my key advice is, if you can make your side hustle something that you personally enjoy doing, it doesn't feel like work. My downtime became sourcing clothes. It became making content to try and sell the clothes on social medias and stuff. Like, that was my downtime. So like, people say, how do you balance school in with this? And it's like, well, instead of watching like a Netflix show or whatever for like an hour or so, I just sit and design clothes because I love doing it. And eventually, luckily, it ended up being, you know, monetizable. But that's how I balanced it, is because I was doing it because I loved it, not because it felt like work, really. Which I think is what, if you can pursue something like that, by all means, completely pursue it, because that's the only way it's going to work, I think.
That's the game. That's one of the things we teach at Rebel School is, and, you know, Think Like a Rebel is all about saying, okay, well, I could go and work for somebody else doing something I don't enjoy, or I could pick something that I love doing and it doesn't feel so much like work.
That's a personal mantra of mine. Always been my thoughts.
So Alexei, go back to when you started River God. If you were going to give yourself some advice, you know, what would that advice be?
I actually made a quick list here. Let me just get it up, because I think like it's hard to go off the top of my head. Sorry about this.
Don't worry, I can see.
I'd say like yeah, give us a little dance. Yeah. Where have I actually put this? I'm just gonna sort of just wing it a bit. So what I think was important was like, because I was doing international manufacturing, I had not, for some reason, I just assumed the VAT wasn't something that you paid on international imports as well as a business. It completely screwed my budget up. Getting a customs invoice through saying, we're not releasing your products until you paid this. And I was like, oh, all the plans I've got have just gone out the window. Like, it was, again, we'll get to this in a bit, because I think it's important to talk about how I managed to cope with that sort of loss so early on. But like, that was a massive thing. So I'd say really do your background research. Like, don't rush into something without fully understanding the legality behind it and that sort of stuff. And I'd also say, just like, stick to your guns again. Like, I took a lot of time flipping and flapping about ideas, trying to ride trends. And I realized that was another thing I wanted to do. I wanted to create something original, and it took me so long to do that. Whereas I could have done it from the start, but I didn't, because I was too scared to do it. And then by the end of it, I ended up reverting back to the same thing, and that's what's done. That's what everyone loves. So just stick to the guns, I'd say.
So how long has the name River God been in existence?
So I had my original venture with clothing was called Theta, as in the Greek letter. And I basically got bullied out of doing that, because I made loads of designs that look very similar to a brand called Kenzo, which was not intentional. It just what happened, because I was a big fan of them, and it must have just, the inspiration was a bit too close. You know, like, again, I never had any design experience, so I didn't know the difference between imitation and, you know, like, inspiration. So I cut that out. That was when I had the break, when I was like, okay, I need to sit back, properly re-strategize this all now, because I'm not going to, you know, save loads of money, spend it on these products that are just going to get like. So River God came about, I think, early 2018, late 2017.
It's been around a while now. This is awesome.
Yeah.
What was the impact of that? Because I think one of the things that really annoys me about when business and entrepreneurship is taught is that it's presented as this is the rosy side of life and everything's great here. But actually, like, what often happens is things don't go how you want them to go, and you make mistakes that you didn't even know existed, and things go wrong. Like, let's talk about that break for a second. What was the impact of that, and how did you bounce back from it?
Well, like, because that was like a minor stepping stone for me. Like at the time, because like I hadn't invested much money into it at this point. Like I was still quite young. For me, I just took it as a learning curve. I was like, right, like get my head down, you know, get over the fact that people weren't interested in what I was doing. But I did like these Facebook posts, and like, again, a brand that most people know, Supreme. I used to post in there. I'm really cheeky. I used to post into their like big Facebook group saying, "Here's my designs. What do you think of these ones?" And what I did, I had hundreds of comments of people being angry that I was posting them. But a lot of people were giving me a really constructive criticism because they saw that I was like 15 and wanted to do something in my life. Right. So I took all of this feedback and just sat and just, first of all, I took like a month off it and just thought, you know what, I'm just going to get my head into like football. I'm really into football. Get, you know, back into stuff that I just, other hobbies. And then I went back, read through all the comments, all this sort of stuff, and realized, actually, what can I take from this? Rather than getting depressed about it, take it as just a complete learning curve. And through doing that, we're here today. So, you know, I think that's an important one.
That's super cool. So like, you're studying at the moment, aren't you?
Yes. Yeah. University of Warwick.
So how's that balance working out for you? Because I'm sure that University of Warwick don't really want you. I bet they would be much more interested in the grades that you walk out with. I mean, it'd be cool for them that you have a business.
Well, here's the thing, and I think that some of your sort of students actually really should know about this scholarship that Warwick do. So Warwick, in the last 2 years, they've introduced a new scholarship scheme through the business school, where if you come from a disadvantaged background, there's like criteria for it, and you've got a business idea, you put together a business plan, like a really like more of a pitch deck, more of like your ideas. You dump your ideas down and what you've done to sort of pursue those ideas. You pitch them to some professors, and if you win, you get the scholarship, which comes with a lot of mentorship from industry experts, loads of contacts like lawyers, like intellectual property experts. And through doing that, I won the scholarship with Rivergod a couple of years, like when I went up. And what it means is that I get loads of really good support for the business, but also for my studies as well. So like first year, when it was really hard to balance at times, I'm not going to lie, it was really hard. But I have a really good friendship group on my course. They're all really supportive of what I'm doing. They're helping me out with my grades, you know, giving me some, you know, some notes under the table sort of thing, you know, and helping me out with that. And so my first year went really well grades wise. I was really proud of myself. This year, we're yet to know because I haven't had any exams, but like, it's getting hard. I've now, what I've started to do, I've started to like, so stuff like accountancy and PR and stuff. I've got friends that I'm giving placements to as under Rivergod RVGD Limited, which is the official company. I'm giving them placements for them to do the dirty work for me, for them to use for their year abroad application, saying I've done 6 months internship doing accountancy sort of thing. But for me, so I'm using that to take the pressure off the brand so I can focus on my studies at the same time. Nice. They're getting something out of it. Because
this is great. So your friendship group are doing the roles that you are less interested in to allow you to focus on the creative side of the business.
Yeah, I'm giving an official placement.
Experience. And for you, it gets you a job done that you need done to help you accelerate the growth of your company.
Yeah.
This is thinking like a rebel, Alexei. I like it. You figured out a win-win. I hope they're not watching
that's all I'm about. All I'm about with business, I think, mutuality of benefit in every touch point you have with the customer, with the clients, with suppliers, with influencers, anything. If you can derive as much mutuality of benefit, you're going to take it far, because people are happy to work for you because it benefits them. And I think that's something that I've been playing around with, and so far it's really been useful for me.
So what's next, Alexei? What's the dream? Where are you headed?
Right, so
you don't have to give away too many secrets here, but
no, I'll give away the end like supervillain goal. You know, Rivergod. I want it to be, again, this is going to sound really profound and like probably way too big for what I'm ever going to be able to achieve. But you know, what's the point in not dreaming big? I want to have, like Richard Branson started Virgin in one medium and spread out and tried as many different modes of business as possible. I want to turn Rivergod, or RVGD, the abbreviation, into a lifestyle company where we've got, you know, hands in music, art, maybe food, maybe, you know, all this sort of stuff. Like, I want to develop one label under Rivergods and then move on to the next thing, and have people running them alongside it, and have it as a whole like conglomerate. I mean, we're talking like years into the future, but like I thought that's a more interesting answer than just saying, yeah.
Give it 6 months.
Yeah, sure. But yeah, like I thought it was a more interesting answer than just saying I want to sell X amount of clothes next year.
Yeah,
you know?
that's very interesting. Yeah. I love the world-changing kind of answer. That's the juicy stuff. It's very you. That's cool. So imagine that you came along with Rebel School, and you're here in a youth centre in Cardiff with me, and we had a conversation. There's a bunch of kids next door, 14, 15 years old. What would be the encouragement that you'd give them? What would be the advice? Like, because they've got vinyl cutting stuff happening here, which is why I want to come down and see it. And there's students across Solihull thinking, I know that they're going, I'd love to have my own clothing brand. Like, where do I start with that? What does it start with? Does it start with an idea, a name? Does it start with making something? What would you say to someone that's right at the first stage?
Well, this is actually my job as well. Like, I work with people who want to start streetwear labels, design for them, help them conceptualize all this sort of stuff. And what like the sort of go-to script is like, what are you doing it for? Why do you want a clothing label? What do you want to do with that? Think about that. Think about what is important to you, and think about what you can incorporate together. Like, how you can link those together, and find your name through doing that. I'd say if you're a creative person, literally just brainstorm as much as you possibly can with no limits. Just brainstorm as much as you can. Maybe then speak to people that have worked at fashion labels or are upcoming labels themselves, and sort of speak to them about how your ideas could be commercialized rather than just end up as like art, like rather actually become a viable product rather than just like an idea, and I think that's really important. That's what a lot of people I found the problem is. I've met some really, really creative people, but they've never really been taught how to turn it into a business. So I feel like if you're serious about it from day one, you need to understand how you can turn your creativity into cash, basically. I'd say research the market, understand what the current trends are. Decide whether you want to be a pioneer, if you want to start a new trend, if you want to go for that route, or if you want to follow a current one and get involved in what's going on. I just say, just keep brainstorming, never stop brainstorming, never stop designing, never stop the ideas flowing. You'll hit creative blocks, but that happens in literally every career possible. Just get as much as you can down, keep refining, and eventually you'll come up with something you love. And I think through doing that, and that's how I found, through going through that process, I also learned along the way certain things like manufacturing. It's one of those things where, like, because clothing, like, I think clothing brand is a hugely vague term, because you've got, I think, like, there's so many different ways you could do, like, athletic clothing, you could do streetwear, you could do like high-end designer clothing. So I feel like what you need to do is research what route you want to go down, understand that specific path, like what manufacturer you do, whether you do it yourself, whether you do it with a supplier, all this sort of stuff.
So why did you choose streetwear, Alexei? What was it about?
Because it's one of my passions. It's one of my loves. Like I said, do what you love.
Yeah, that's the rebel thing, isn't it? You've picked something that you love, you've chosen your lane, and you've gone deeply down that lane. How do you manage your creativity? You're a creative guy. You get about 1,000 ideas every 10 seconds. How do you deal with that?
Actually, my granddad, Dan, he because what would happen is whenever I go to his house, we'd have like dinner, and all I'd be doing is throwing a million different ideas at him at a time. And he was like, you need to get a book and write these down. And then, so I've been doing that. I've just got a book. I've been writing them all down. I've been like, occasionally, like what I'll do, like I'll go on Snapchat and just press the voice note button and just spout loads of whatever comes to my mind to my mates, and just wait for them to pick up on something that might be good out of what I've said. Because my at the moment when I'm like on a creative high, like I like to think of them as, like, when you get that sort of burst of creativity, like my head is just going way too fast. I need to just spout it out at someone, and I'll let them pick out what's working. So that's kind of what the book is when my friends are too busy, because they actually have lives themselves and they aren't just here to be my sort of creative vices. Like that's why I just get a book, write everything down, read it through, compare it to what other people are doing, and you'll come up with something great. I think everyone's got an amazing idea inside them somewhere. So just keep, sorry. Just keep at it. Yeah.
Here's the thing, Alexei, like what's the tell us about the channels. Where can people find you? Let's do a shameless plug.
So my sort of main channel at the moment is on Instagram at rvgd.clo. That's where I'm posting most of the content at the moment. You can find me on Facebook on just River God, but it's just set so it reposts everything on the Instagram, because I find that Instagram is definitely the best social media for upcoming clothing labels, like to properly display your products. I've started using TikTok. I've not built enough of a presence on there for it to be really worth promoting it. But again, I'm experimenting with that, and I feel like TikTok's going to be a great place to promote upcoming streetwear labels as well, because you can really connect with the audiences and like make like relatable content where your clothes are also part of that. I think that's a big thing I'd say as well, is that try and find a way that your products can relate to real life, you know, about how it can fit in people's lifestyles and stuff. And I think that's what TikTok is going to be great for, is being able to exhibit that. But right now, yeah, I'd just say Instagram and Facebook, that's where I'm mostly pushing. And then from there, you know, you'll be able to see what other directions I go in, because I've been posting about it on there. Yeah.
Super cool. So you've got some marketing stuff going on. You're experimenting with ads at the moment. Have you got any examples that have happened where you've gone, I've been able to, other than your competition winner, has there been any collabs, or is that a direction that you're going to go in? Is it an influencer direction? Because I know that's one of the things that lots of people that are doing clothing go, oh, the pot of the gold at the end of the rainbow here is me getting someone that's got a big following to wear my stuff and talk about my stuff. Is that still the case? Is that a direction?
It's all a facade. It's all a facade. For years, I was like, I need to do this. Again, saved up loads of money, paid some of these guys, got some amazing content with my clothes, like around London, all this sort of stuff. Didn't hit. Posted to their massive audiences. It didn't hit. So what I've decided now, my route, instead of paying big money to the big guys, I'm finding as many little guys that want to work with little guys. No, that sounds really rude. Not little guys, but like people that are starting their journey of becoming stylists and influencers.
Finding these guys, right?
Yeah, like they do it because they love it. Because I do free. If they get a free T-shirt in the post, they'll send me hundreds of pictures of them wearing it in different settings, different outfits and stuff, because they want to, because they love what they're doing. And I thought, again, mutuality benefit. I'm getting loads of content where it looks like people are wearing it in real life, and they're getting free, you know, premium clothing. So I've been doing that now, and I've changed my budgets around after. Again, this is only something that I've ever learned through getting out there and doing it. For years, all my plans with these big influencers, used them, flopped. You know, take the loss, move on. I've learned a valuable lesson. Get the people that are growing in your stuff. Get as many people as possible rather than a few. Because if in like my new tactic now with my adverts is pure social proof, because I think that's how you convert people in fashion, is thinking everyone else is wearing it. So you know, feel free to steal this one, because like, you know, I think more people should do it. But I'm getting as many of these people as possible. I'm aiming to get 50 different people wearing it in different outfits and stuff. And I'm going to run 50 simultaneous adverts on Instagram and Facebook of different people wearing it, but it looks like normal Instagram feed posts. So people become familiar with the brand and they feel like it's everyone's wearing it, but it's actually people that I'm paying to wear it rather than them paying to wear it, sort of thing. And through doing that, people will eventually, again, people are buying and buying, but then I feel like that was when it's going to start to snowball, when it feels like everyone's wearing it. And I think that's kind of what I'm pushing at the moment, is making it seem like everyone is wearing it, so everyone wants to wear it, sort of thing. If you see what I'm saying. It
sounds like a great experiment to me, Alexei. Like, let's check in a few months' time and see how it goes, because I think,
yeah, definitely.
What I love about what you said is another kind of rebelism, is that we say to people, start where you're at, not where you wish you were at. And I love the idea that you're linking up with other accounts that are at the early stages of their journey as well. And because my son had a thing going for a while, and in fact, I think he's about to kick it off again, of like 50, 60,000 TikTok followers. And he used to absolutely love it when he gets a piece of clothing or some piece of equipment.
Of course, it's awesome. If you love it, right, it's awesome.
He takes all the pictures and all the videos, and it's a little bit like, yeah, we've seen this from 48 different angles now. It's like, again, oh yeah, I haven't finished yet, you know. And for all of the reasons that you've said, so it's fascinating.
Like, to an owner, that's awesome. We want to see 48 more angles. You know, we want to see it from every possible way that we can use it to chuck into our marketing. Like, for us, that's amazing. For consumers, it's a bit boring, but for us, it's, you know, it's awesome.
Cool. I'll send him your way when if he does kick off that channel again. I think
sweet, yeah, definitely.
but I think he's ready to go again. It's a
Sweet,
biking
sweet.
thing. But yeah, there's lots of streetwear and lifestyle stuff. Like I'm doing a deal on behalf of my son. I need to get some commission. Like what the hell's going on? Someone get control of my face. I've lost
this new agent.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm in the wrong job. So yeah, this is cool. This is interesting. And I think every person I've spoken to that in for different reasons, different types of business too, often talk about getting an influencer to talk about my stuff. I think what you've just said is amazing advice. And I think like, because you've done it and that's the thing, you've tested
Wish
it.
I'd been told that, man.
Yeah.
Like the amount of money I spent on these guys, like it's cool and all, but like just didn't hit, just did not hit. And some people can't afford to make those mistakes.
Like, did I make cash from this or not? Did it work? Did it drive traffic?
Yeah, yeah. Like,
but it's
my metric at the moment is purely traffic, because I think it's really hard to convince people to buy a piece of clothing they've never seen before off the bat from a new label. I think that's really difficult, and that's a known thing because like people, with fashion, you wear what you think other people are wearing rather than So like that's why I didn't really consider that. I just thought if they see these guys wearing it, they're going to buy instantly. But no, they need to see everyone wearing it. So instead of going for maybe these big faces, go for the fact that make it seem like loads of people are wearing it rather than just a few. And that's, I think that's the better way to keep your budgets at the moment. I think that's what works now because the big influencers now, everyone's like influencers. It became inauthentic. People didn't see them as real people anymore. They just saw them as marketing vehicles to connect with the real people, not the marketing muses, I'd say.
Genius.
And it's cheaper.
It's a win-win.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody's happy. They get some stuff, they get some great content, you get some content, you get your brand promoted by someone that's real and authentic, not someone that's just in it for the bucks.
And you see people loving your products, which for like right at the core of everything, that's what hits the most for me. I can see sales coming in, and it's not the money at all that I'm excited about. It's the fact that people have seen what I've made and want to spend their hard-earned cash on something that I've spent years developing. For me, that's worth more than money. It's just awesome. So
to tease us, Alexei, for how much money would I have to have saved up? Because I'm a poor business owner. I'm a parent. How much money might I have to have saved up to get a River God item of clothing? Give me a ballpark.
I'll pitch it to you so you feel like you're actually getting an amazing deal. I think that's a better option. So they're not cheap. The hoodies, they are not cheap, but that's not the point. I don't make cheap rubbish. I'm making sure that we're building stuff that lasts for years because we're a sustainable label. The hoodies are made out of purely organic cotton, recycled rubber on the sleeve tags. They're built to last forever, basically. They will go £130 for the black hoodie as a blank hoodie, but then you also get one set of the interchangeable patches for free. Each season, when you order those patches, instead of having to buy a new hoodie the next season to keep up with the trends, buy the new patches. You've got the new hoodie each season rather than having to spend 130 quid each season. We're just paying for the new patches each season. So it's an investment at first, but long run, you're going to be laughing. And you're going to look great every season as well, of course. So
obviously, like your hot property in River God streetwear. And actually, I love that pitch, and it's a brilliant, absolutely brilliant idea. It's genius. I wish you all the best with it. I've got a feeling like I would love to stay connected with you and get you involved in some of the business school stuff, because
I'd love to.
The thing that I've realized, and I'm interested to ask you this question: roughly how many of your say hi to Jag. No worries, sir. Jag, you're famous. You're live on YouTube. How many of your friends, like out of your close circle from school, how many of them were making their own money doing some kind of hustle in school and then in college? And then maybe the university is probably a bit skewed because it sounds like you'll be surrounded by people working on their thing. But talk to me about school and college. Like how many of your mates were doing stuff?
Well, not really anyone. But like I struggle with, if I'm doing well, I struggle with being the only one doing well. I have to get my mates in it. So I'll be telling them, do this, do that, come out with me shopping. I let them have like something that I'd have maybe bought for myself to sell. I'll just be like, oh yeah, you found that, you can have that sort of thing. And I'd either sell for them or teach them to set up their own pages. And but no one was doing what I was doing really. I don't know why. People just didn't really have the effort, or they couldn't really be bothered to do it. But then as soon as people started realizing how well I was doing, and like I got a bit of a rep for being the guy that if people wanted some retro clothes in Oxford, they'd hit me up. So like my friends would start to join the bandwagon, and I'd help them set their pages up. Like I'd teach them which are the best places to go to. or like there's the whole culture around street where you're buying new stuff and flipping it for 3 times the price as soon as it comes out. I was teaching my friends how to do that as well. Secondary school, no, exactly. And then sixth form, I met a couple people that were doing similar stuff, which was cool. Like we exchanged tips, like we worked together doing stuff. But I'd say, yeah, not really many people.
Here's what I would love to happen, because I think it's still quite unusual, and you just like shown me it's still quite unusual to find students in school and college with a business or a side hustle or some kind of project that they're working on alongside their studies. I think it's still unusual. I think in 50 years time, I think it will be unusual for a student not to be doing that stuff.
I hope so.
And I think the thing that I wake up in the night thinking about is, between now and then, like all of these kids that are coming out of school, college and university that haven't been entrepreneurial yet are going into a world of work that's changing so fast that, we just don't even know what it's going to be in 2 years' time. I'm having conversations.
All my friends that are doing like entrepreneurial modules. Yeah.
Right. What was an NFT a few years ago? Like,
man, I still don't know.
So here's the thing, like I would love to get you involved in chatting to students and sharing your experiences, like however we do that, whether we do that online or maybe come and hang out with us.
All for it.
I would love that to happen. And I wish you well with it. We're going to stay in touch. We're going to take the video down. We're just going to keep it a secret for a couple of days, and then we're going to share it again. So look out for that. And we'll share this with you as well, so you can, cut bits out and do whatever you want to do. It's been a real pleasure to meet you properly after all this time. We've been chatting on Instagram for a bit.
Yeah, same to you, man.
All the best. The best of luck with your studies, and we'll speak soon, man.
Sweet.
Take care.
Sweet.